Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Language Teaching and Learning channel. My name is Santiago. I hope everything is going well with you and your classes and you're keeping yourself safe. I'd like to welcome Lily Aguirre to the channel. I hope you get to enjoy the training and academic videos as well as the music videos and other things that we'll be posting later on. So welcome. And well, you can see I'm in a different setting now. I hope the hummingbirds or whatever traffic doesn't distract you as we're talking. We're talking about speaking now. We've been talking about speaking since the last video, and we mentioned that it's important to encourage students to use the language from day one. Okay, even though they have very little vocabulary, encourage them to communicate using that little vocabulary that they have, right? In order to develop confidence in using the target language. Because this is a never-ending circle. You see, they get more encouragement, they develop more confidence, then they start taking risks using vocabulary or language that they're not really sure about, but they use it in order to try to communicate. So this is very important, okay? We also talked about overcoming reluctance to try out new things, as crazy as they may sound. Remember the example I gave you about the poster in my class, right? Using a poster and poster paper and crayons and markers with adults. I was very reluctant to try it in the beginning, but it worked out great. I encourage you to do the same with any of the activities that we mentioned in the videos. Remember, these activities I've already tried them and they have worked, and they will most likely work with you too. I'd like to thank my friend Hartman for making a suggestion. Last video I gave you I did a mini lesson of using the language from day one and communicating from day one. Remember, I'm Santiago, everybody talks. I'm Santiago, I'm a teacher, then everybody talks about, I'm Santiago, I'm John, I'm a lawyer, I'm Susan, I'm an accountant, whatever, in order to communicate. Harman's suggestion was that I should put pictures of the different professions around the classroom so students can choose, or if you're working online, share. There are a page with a whole bunch of professions there and pictures and everything, so that the students can choose. Now, the reason I did it this way, I didn't do it the way Harman suggested, is because for two reasons. First of all, I didn't want to overwhelm the students with vocabulary. Okay, you have all these things and they say, oh my god, I need to remember all this. They don't. Second, well, actually three reasons. I usually work with adults, so they already have a profession. So my idea was, okay, you remember your profession and don't worry about the others, you'll remember later on. And third, and most importantly, is that in my perfect plan, I have professions and activities a little later on, a couple of lessons later on. And however, okay, I just started a couple of weeks ago a real beginners class. So I tried the way I've done it and it's worked. I won't be starting another real beginners class for a couple of months. So as soon as I try that, as I start that class, I will try out Hartman's suggestion. And let you know how it works, or maybe you can try and let me know how it works, okay? But this is the idea, right? I have my own idea why it worked this way, but I never thought of doing it this way, the way Hartman suggested. So I'll try it out and see how it works. Back to the perfect plan that I call it, which is no way near being perfect, but it's worked so far. Just to give you an idea of how I came up with it and where it is now. When I first tried it, you see, after having worked for so long in using different materials and with different levels and so on, I designed, okay, I said, this is the way the learning should progress. And the way I had it in the beginning was, the way I showed you, I'm Santiago, I'm a teacher. But I also included the negatives, you see, because for me it was logical. The affirmative, I'm negative, right? And then there was, I'm Santiago, I'm a teacher, I'm not John, I'm not a lawyer. But I found when I tried that in my classes that it was very, very challenging for them and confusing. So then I decided, to me it was logical, but obviously when I was teaching it, this is a foreign language, so I found that it was very difficult for the students. So then I eliminated that. Okay, eliminated the negatives, and now I start only with the affirmative structures. Okay, and please remember, I normally never tell the students, okay, this is what we're going to do, the simple present, this is the structure. No, I just have them use it before I actually tell them about the grammar point, and this is what they call inductive grammar, right? So that's what happens, you see. And we'll talk about action research, as I mentioned in a future video, about, you know, things you try out in the classroom, and if they work, perfect, and if they don't, improve on them, and if they don't work, why, and adapt them or change them, right? Or teach later on, like I did with this negatives. And there were other cases that like that, right? So it's important to have flexibility and act or react according to how your class is progressing, right? Ideally, speaking should be the easiest skill for us to teach. Why? Because we as humans, we like to talk. We like to talk about ourselves, and we like to talk about our opinions and the things that we do and everything else. So ideally, we need to, you know, it should be the easiest skill to teach, but we need to take advantage of this in order, again, to encourage the students to communicate in the target language and to develop confidence using the target language, right? Now, we as teachers and as humans, we also have that desire to talk and give our opinions and so on and so on. Then we run into problems in the classroom, right? With STT, student talking time, and teacher talking time, right? Please remember, student talking time in the classroom should be about 80% of the time, and teacher talking time should be about 20% or less even. That's much better, right? So this is why a way to encourage and the students to use the language is, no matter how little they may know, have them use the language and communicate the language as much as possible. Give a little explanation, have them practice the language. A little explanation, and then they start developing confidence, right? Give students as many opportunities as possible. We'll be talking about that later on too, but you know, the easiest way to do is, you know, have students talk about themselves. Remember, they want class 1. I'm Santiago. Oh, okay, you introduce yourselves. I'm a teacher. Oh, okay, you introduce. They're talking about themselves, and they feel confident and proud because, hey, I'm sharing my opinion, and I'm listening to other people, and I'm learning from them, right? And then you progress, you know, things that you do, you know, on vacation, on weekends, every day, things that you like to do. What hobbies, interests do you have, right? Talk about your family and things like that, you see. So this, little by little, you start developing a confidence in this, you know, the students develop confidence in using the language, and you actually encourage them to use it, right? And one final thing for today is, and we talked about this in one of the earlier videos, right? Remember the use of L1 in the classroom? Forget it. And I just gave you an example that it's possible not to, you know, just communicate in the target language. That's it. Very important to set the example, right? Remember we mentioned 1 or 2 videos back, you know, monkey see, monkey do, don't do as I say, not as I do. Set the example. If we're telling our students to communicate in the target language, but we're speaking them in their native language, it's a contradictory example. Okay, so always communicate with the students in the target language, and create the environment, the need for the students to communicate in the target language. And one way of doing it is very easy. You just talk to them in English all the time, inside or outside the classroom if you are having in-person classes. And you know, I had an example in which, you know, in this case the English teacher is in recess, and the student comes running, you know, especially the younger students, right? You know, they're really excited when they first get to New York, and they come to me, teacher, teacher, and they speak to you in the native language, in Spanish in this case, and say, you know, they ask you a question like, teacher, I'm sorry, what did you say we had to do for homework? But in the native language, my reaction is, I'm sorry, what did you say? The moment they see that, immediately they change, you see, and say, oh, English teacher, okay. I'm sorry, teacher, homework Monday, you need to do page 5 and 6. That little action, you see, doesn't take a lot of effort, but that little thing that we do makes a big difference in the students. Then the students start realizing, oh, I need to communicate with my teacher in the target language, not only in the classroom, it's not just a subject, communicate outside the classroom. Okay, and also encourage them to communicate in the target language with them as much as possible. As I said, create the environment, create the need for them to communicate in English. Try to get them to imagine that they're living in another country and everybody speaks a different language. How can they communicate with each other and with you? So this is the idea. Okay, we'll continue talking about speaking in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this one and learned a lot from it. Thank you very much for having joined me, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.